Yes. And I think when I think about CaringBridge and I am honored that I inherited this legacy platform that was invented, the internet was 3 years old at the time that our founder went down and
Yeah.
coded the first CaringBridge page. And it was born out of what you're talking about, which is the need for connection and the need to activate your community and connection so that you're not isolated because there's so much going on. But how do you, and you see this, in those in between moments, maybe in the waiting room, maybe bedside, whatever fits into your life to connect with that community and then ask them to support you in the way that you need. And that, as we see on CaringBridge, right, it can be anything from a prayer emoji to an actual comment to an actual, I'm bringing that pepperoni pizza today at 2 o'clock. Do you still like pepperoni? Right? All of that exists in CaringBridge. And I think that's the power that's enabled it to last so long.
Yeah.
What I appreciate about what you're saying is that that activation of community is so important to solving isolation long term as well. What we see, I'll bring to life an example that there's that kind of that acute moment at the beginning when you really need your community to understand and know what's going on, and there's a communication overload of people inundating you with asks, and so that's where CaringBridge solves that.
Yeah.
But further on down the line, as you get through your treatment, as you get through those great milestones of remission, 1 year, 3 year, 5 year, we see people pulling my year in review, what I'm grateful for.
Yeah.
And it reignites and it reminds them of what you're talking about. I'm not sick anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm still here and I still need you. And I don't, it's not about my cancer anymore. It's about me as
Yeah.
part of the community. And so we see that long tail on CaringBridge, which is really powerful and speaks to what you were talking about. I'm going to close and ask you what you feel. You've sprinkled in little things here and there, but what do
Yeah.
you feel is powerful about the partnership between CaringBridge and ACS? And just kind of maybe a summary of why you think that's a powerful combination of what we can do to continue to help those family caregivers and their loved ones.
Well, I mean, one, when two organizations like ours come together to say this is important, then I think that's an important place to start. Family caregivers have for too long been ignored, been in the shadows, been not heard, not listened to, not acknowledged for really the work that they do. And I think we all know that, Rosalind Carter said it best. There's only four types of people, right? And you move between those groups, but all of us will be a caregiver or need a caregiver at some point in time. I think there's few absolutes in life. Maybe it's death, taxes, and the need of a caregiver or becoming a caregiver, right? Like, I mean, that's really just an absolutism. And I think when two organizations of our size and visibility come together to say this is a extraordinarily important thing and not pay lip service to it, I think that's really important for one. Two, I think what it does is it invites collaboration and ideation and thoughts. I mean, in starting this role, I thought about CaringBridge really early on because I think we're starting to acknowledge this issue both of gratitude acknowledgement and of social isolation that COVID only just hinted at. But, the concept of cancer and social isolation, I still get people who say to me like, really? I thought everyone rallies around a person when they're diagnosed with cancer. And I was like, for some very fortunate people, that is true, but not for everybody. Come to my clinic, you'll see that. But that rally doesn't last. It might last 6 days. It might last 6 months. It rarely lasts 6 years. And, that's really important for us to address together. So, I encourage everyone to journal about their experience, share that within a network, share their gratitudes, be upfront and honest about what they need. Because if you don't ask, then all those people who care and love you can't help you. And I think that language can be tough because asking for something might be admitting something, but I think it just admits that we're all human. We all need something. And there's moments in time where we may need a little bit more than other moments in time. I think that's really important. And lastly, I would say, Tia, that the power of our relationship is to improve lives. I mean, I think that we both have a platform where we can reach millions of people in a given year, and I know you do, and we strive to do that as well, but reach in different ways. I mean, I think that for some people, social determinants of health can be thought of as a really expensive solution to something that are formidable barriers. But I do think that the power of connection becomes a scalable, potentially lower cost. I mean, we're not talking about that the solution starts with someone gives someone else $3,000 in a grant. I think that historically has worked sometimes for sure. But this is one of those, like, if you know how to send the right text, you will make a difference today, and that's free. And if you know how to journal in the right way and you're reading up on a loved one and you can see what they're saying and you make that connection, that's essentially, free. And I think that's what we need to think about here, because there's millions of caregivers, lots of chronic illness, and we have to find ways to amplify through our voices, and I think that's how our organizations are doing it.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for joining. I think about CaringBridge vision of a world where no one goes through a health journey alone.
Alone. Yeah.
And that is exactly what our organizations are focused on, right? How do we
Yep.
surround you with those, not only resources, but the people?